Anyone who's ever been the real heir of a loaded family knows this. Getting kidnapped, dumped somewhere, or swapped with some fake heir. Yeah, that stuff happens all the damn time. Take me, for example. I was trafficked overseas at 3 years old and survived on nothing but margarita pizza for a full 20 years before my rich biological parents finally tracked me down. I figured I'd walk in and get the whole open arms welcome home moment. Yeah, not even close. The second I stepped through the front door, I saw a guy about my age bawling like the world had ended, while my parents and my sister crowded around him, whispering soft reassurances and babying him in every possible way. I frowned a little and thought to myself, the villa's not bad, but why the hell are the perimeter walls hollowed out like that? Aren't they worried about a sniper taking a clean shot? With this kind of cash, the windows should at least be bulletproof. So damn cheap. That north-facing window on the second floor looks straight onto the street. Mount a belt-fed machine gun there and pair it with a sniper rifle, and you could probably hold off a light infantry assault for over an hour. TSK. Why is this brat crying like such a wimp? My head hurts like hell. I need my meds, fast. If somebody drops dead on my first day back, they'll definitely start hating my guts. Damn groundhog, can you shut up already? I can't take this crap anymore. Maybe I should just get rid of him tonight. I had just opened my mouth to say something when the whole family suddenly went dead silent, like someone hit the mute button. They all turned and stared at me standing in the doorway, fear written all over their faces. As for Makoto, who'd been standing in the middle of their little circle, no one knew what triggered him, but he suddenly made this weird GUH sound and fainted on the spot. Chapter 1. I stood there in the doorway, suitcase in hand. The moment I walked in, I got a front row seat to Makoto's scheming little act. He came down from the second floor, dragging a suitcase big enough to stuff himself inside. His eyes were full of stubborn resolve, but the shimmering tears made him look ridiculously fragile for a grown man. One glance was enough. I knew that suitcase was empty as hell. It was absurdly oversized for his build. If he'd only packed a few things, there'd be zero reason to use something that huge. And judging by the size, even if he'd filled it with nothing but toilet paper, there's no way he could have lifted it one-handed like that. So yeah, the giant suitcase was clearly just a prop. Total drama setup. The 3 people chasing him downstairs were already familiar from the files I'd read, the Wong family of 3. My biological parents. My sister. All 3 had eyes only for Makoto. They didn't even spare me a glance. They rushed forward and blocked his path. My so-called mother, Karen, grabbed his hand, her eyes trembling with tears. Makoto, this is your home. If you leave, where could you possibly go? Makoto looked like he was about to collapse from heartbreak. Mom, now that my brother is back, I've fulfilled my mission as the substitute you raised for 20 years. It's time for me to leave this family. Don't talk nonsense. You are not a substitute. My biological father, Sam Wong, anger flickering in his eyes, shot me a sideways glance. You are the son we raised for 20 years. You are our flesh and blood. Without you, your mother and I would never have survived our grief back then. You stayed by our side for 20 years. You don't owe the Wong family anything. It's the Wong family that owes you. My sister Willow turned toward me, eyes full of open hostility. You walking disaster. You just got back and you're already forcing Makoto out. Why didn't you just die out there? You've barely come home and you've already thrown this house into chaos. Happy now? Sam and Karen didn't react to their daughter's vicious jab at all. They just kept crowding around Makoto, murmuring comfort, letting Willow spit venom at me unchecked. Watching the whole circus, I couldn't help thinking, is this entire family brain dead? He's the one choosing to leave. What the hell does that have to do with me? With brains like that, how did they even build such a massive fortune? Did they start as professional beggars, or what? Their expressions changed instantly. Every single one of them turned to look at me, confusion and disbelief flickering in their eyes. There isn't a single damn thing inside that suitcase. It's obviously for show. Are these idiots really too blind to see it? Or are they putting on an act to push me out? Wait, they searched for me for 20 years. If they really didn't want me back, they could have just announced I was dead. Why bother finding me? Got it. It's this little bastard. He doesn't want me here. So he's deliberately turning everyone against me. Makoto, who'd been standing in the middle, froze for a second. Then, with exaggerated grievance, he threw himself into my mother's arms like some pretty boy sold into a brothel. TCH. This is unbearable. I need my meds now, or I'm seriously gonna lose it. I can't take it anymore. Tonight I'll hang him from the rafters and bleed him dry. It's happily decided. The entire family turned deathly pale. Makoto looked like he'd just seen a demon crawl out of hell. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted again on the spot. Chapter 2. That night, the Wong family even hired a head chef from a 5-star hotel to cook at home. The table was stacked to the brim with delicacies from land and sea. At the long dining table, the three of them sat together, warm and picture-perfect like some happy family portrait. Me? I sat way down near the end, eating like a guy who hadn't seen decent food in decades, grease practically shining on my lips. As I shoved a thick, tender piece of fatty fish belly into my mouth, I couldn't help but marvel at the fact that I finally didn't have to survive on pasta and cheese salad, the kind of bland garbage that tastes like straight-up despair. Seeing my completely unfiltered table manners, Willow looked at me with pure disgust. You don't sit properly. You don't stand properly. You're an embarrassment to the Wong family. My parents said nothing, but the agreement in their eyes said it all. Noticing Dad, Mom, and Willow's attention had shifted to me, Makoto immediately started stirring the pot again. He deliberately revealed an old-fashioned mechanical wristwatch on his wrist, his tone dripping with fake gratitude. Dad, this is the heirloom Grandpa passed down, right? Thank you for giving me such a meaningful and valuable gift. I'll treasure it forever. I thought to myself, what's the point of that thing? One hard knock and it'll shatter. If a shard flies into your eye, you're screwed. It won't feed you or keep you alive. You'd be better off gifting someone a bulletproof vest. Cough, cough, cough. A violent coughing fit exploded out of nowhere. My mom had clearly choked on something. She grabbed her throat with both hands, her face turning bluish fast. Everyone jumped up in panic. Dad rushed to steady her. Karen, what's wrong? Karen. Her eyes were full of terror and urgency. She could only point desperately at her throat while pounding her chest. She must have swallowed too fast and gotten food lodged in her airway. Brother, why would you do this? Even while Karen was suffocating, Makoto still found time to throw me under the bus. He grabbed her arm and shook her frantically. Mom, what's wrong? Don't scare me. I can't live without you. Say something. Mom, what's happening to you? Did brother upset you again? If you're too embarrassed to say it, just blink. As Karen's eyes started rolling back from lack of oxygen, Makoto spun around and pointed at me furiously. Brother, why are you doing this to Mom? If you've got a problem, take it out on me. I'll leave this family if I have to. But even if I go, you don't get to bully Mom. I didn't have time to argue with his nonsense. I stepped forward, grabbed him by the collar, and flung him aside in one smooth motion. He tried to charge back at me, pissed off, but I planted a solid kick straight into his face. He slammed into the dining table, dishes crashing everywhere. I moved behind Karen, wrapped my arms under her armpits, and started performing the Heimlich maneuver. Finally, a chunk of chicken bone shot out of her mouth and clattered onto the floor. Her breathing cleared instantly. The very next second, Willow rushed forward and slapped me hard across the face. Chapter 3. Willow, the self-appointed knight in shining armor for her precious little brother, stepped right in front of Makoto, whose nose I had just kicked into a bloody mess, with that righteous, justice-serving look on her face. George, you actually dared to hit your own brother. You really never saw us as family, did you? Makoto was just worried about Mom. What did he do to deserve being beaten like that? I want you to kneel down and apologize to Makoto right now. If you refuse, then get out of this house. Seeing his sister defend him so fiercely, Makoto instantly slipped into full drama mode. Big sister, please stop. I was never anything more than a placeholder in this family. Brother is Mom and Dad's biological son. If he wants to hit me, that's only fair. After all, I'm beneath him. As he spoke, he deliberately smeared the blood from his nose all over his hands, then grabbed Willow's white blouse with his stained fingers. Big sister, don't be angry at brother. If hitting me helps him calm down, then let him. Even if he beats me to death, I'd accept it willingly. A giant question mark practically popped over my head. I turned to my biological father, who was still helping his wife steady her breathing, and looked at him with small eyes full of massive confusion. Inside, I couldn't help thinking. The two of them seemed perfectly normal in the intelligence department. How the hell did they manage to produce a daughter who's such an idiot? And this adopted son is a complete pig brain. Couldn't he see she was choking on something? Are the young masters and ladies of elite families really this useless in a basic emergency? You think hugging and crying will magically sob a chicken bone out of someone's throat. So he's actually mentally deficient. No wonder his biological parents left him at an orphanage. With that IQ, he's definitely not normal. This is so damn annoying. I'm the one who saved her. So why is that idiot suddenly jumping out to protect this pig brain? Couldn't she see that if I hadn't acted, Mom would have suffocated to death? No, that idiot can't be allowed to stick around. I'll have to find a way to poison her. Otherwise she'll ruin everything sooner or later. I finally got acknowledged and can live a few peaceful days. I'm not going back to fighting other gangs for territory again. I've had more than enough of arson and murder. The moment that thought crossed my mind, the entire room fell dead silent. All four of them stared at me like they'd just seen a ghost, like I was about to open my jaws and grind them into bone dust any second. Willow stood there frozen, supporting Makoto, who was drenched in soup. Her throat bobbed visibly as she swallowed hard. I touched my swollen cheek where she had slapped me. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? Why are you all looking at me like that? Inside my head, however, even with death staring him in the face, he still dares to look at me like that. I'll gouge those eyeballs out and stomp them flat. Why wait? I'll take a walk down the street tomorrow. If I'm lucky, I'll send him straight to heaven the day after. Suddenly my mother seemed to have a divine flash of clarity. She turned and roared at Willow, who was still standing there in shock. What are you standing around for? Apologize to your brother right now. Are you tired of living? Willow had clearly intended to stay stubborn and show off her rich girl pride, but before she could get a word out, Sam slapped her across the face. Her own father grabbed her by the throat and forced her to bow her head and apologize to me. My mother walked over and warmly took my hand. George, it was thanks to you that Mom was saved. You really are my lucky star. Tell me, what do you want? As long as it's within my power, I'll do my best to make it happen. I raised my hand and pointed at the mechanical wristwatch on Makoto's wrist. You want that watch? Makoto reacted like a pig being dragged to castration, clutching his wrist desperately. George, don't even dream about it. Dad gave this to me. It belongs to me alone. You'll never take it from me. Karen's face filled with hesitation. George, your father already gave that watch to your brother. Could we perhaps choose something else? I shook my head. I don't want the watch. You don't? Then what do you want? I want him to smash it. Right now. You're insane. This is the watch Dad gave me. I'd rather die than give it to you. Ignoring the soup soaking his clothes, Makoto darted behind Willow. Big sister, why is brother always targeting me? Is it just because I'm adopted that he can't tolerate me? Today he wants the watch Dad gave me. Tomorrow will he demand that I stay away from you? And the day after that, will he force me to leave this house forever? Soup stained Willow's outfit and she frowned briefly, but she still stood firmly in front of Makoto. George, don't push it. I haven't acknowledged you as my brother. I only have one brother, and that's Makoto. Don't even dream that I'll accept you, you mafia-raised lunatic. No, he has to die right now. I can't tolerate this for even one more damn second. I walked to the dining table and picked up a chopstick. I'll use this. Straight in through one of the holes in his skull. Twist hard. Mash everything inside. Then that mouth of his will never make another sound. Stab it in. Chapter 4. Smack. Just as my biological father reached out and grabbed the chopstick in my hand, a pale-faced Willow took a solid slap from our mother. Shut your mouth. Go back to your room. Without your father's or my permission, you are not to step outside your door. After saying that, she yanked Makoto's arm over, ignoring his cry of pain, tore the mechanical wristwatch off his wrist, and slammed it hard onto the floor. Crack. The heirloom watch that had been passed down for generations shattered against the marble tiles and stopped ticking on the spot. Much better. From that day on, 2 bodyguards appeared at my side. The moment I stepped out of the house, they followed me closely, never more than a step away. Don't be fooled by the fact that we're a wealthy family, my father explained solemnly when I questioned it. This country isn't as safe as it looks. There are plenty of business rivals who can't beat us openly, so they resort to dirty tricks behind the scenes. Your safety is our top priority now. He seemed genuinely worried I might misunderstand the presence of the bodyguards. My nightmares keep coming back, my mother added softly. I dream about losing you again and never being able to find you. Now that we've finally brought you home, I will never let you disappear again. So blood ties really do exist. My godfather treated me well, but whenever he hugged me, it always felt faintly awkward. Yet when my biological mother embraced me, there was none of that discomfort. Still, ever since the two bodyguards started tailing me, I had zero freedom. I couldn't gather information about the local black market, couldn't acquire materials for poisons, and I discovered that even substances like sulfur and saltpeter, basic ingredients for explosives, were strictly regulated. For the time being, I had no choice but to shelve my plans to eliminate Willow and Makoto. The idiot and the pig brain would get to live a little longer. Half a month later, to celebrate the return of their long-lost son after 20 years, the Wong family hosted a grand banquet. In the luxurious ballroom of a five-star hotel, I wore a sharp black suit, forming a stark contrast with Makoto's flashy blue tailcoat that practically screamed for attention. I had a good build. My mother had originally wanted to choose a short-fitted jacket to highlight my physique. But the moment I removed my shirt and revealed the scars, knife wounds, gunshot wounds, crisscrossing my body, she abandoned the idea. Her trembling fingers hovered over a vicious circular scar beneath my collarbone. The instant she touched it, she recoiled as if burned. Tears streamed down her face as she silently traced the varying depths of the scars, as though counting all the years we had lost. That night, muffled sobs and heavy sighs seeped out from beneath the door of their bedroom. The next morning, a tailored black couture suit was delivered to my room. The banquet invited not only the Wong family's business partners, but also prominent figures from various sectors, local officials, and even a few well-known celebrities. Gangs also throw lavish events under various pretexts to network and strengthen alliances. So I simply sat quietly on a sofa, obediently playing the decorative mascot. Gang gatherings often end in gunfights, just as high society banquets inevitably attract spoiled rich brats looking to stir up trouble. When I stepped out of the hotel restroom, a bunch of young heirs with loosened ties straight up blocked my path in the corridor. Well, if it isn't the Wong family's second young master. Heard you spent quite a few years overseas and only recently came back. They say foreign countries are pretty open-minded. So, second young master, did you pick up a boyfriend while you were abroad? One of them slung an arm around my shoulder. Don't be shy. We mean no harm. We just want to make friends with Wong's second son. Be a good boy and take off your clothes. We only want to embarrass you a little. If you don't want to get hurt, just cooperate. As the ill-intentioned heirs closed in around me, I suddenly remembered that I had forgotten to bring my medication when I left the house today. Go ahead. Let's make it explode properly. Chapter 5. A thunderous explosion boomed through the narrow corridor. Agonized screams ripped through the smoke, only to be swallowed moments later by the shrill wail of the ceiling's fire alarm. Within seconds, the entire hallway was drenched. Water from the sprinklers poured down in sheets, quickly suppressing the thick cloud of smoke. When the last drops finally fell, the banquet guests gathered outside the restroom were met with a shocking sight. Several men lay sprawled on the floor, wailing in pain. One man's face was charred black. His jaw had been dislocated, his mouth hanging open at an impossible angle. A darkened tongue lolled out, and every tooth in his mouth was gone, like a violent blast had detonated inside it. Two others clutched their bloodied faces, writhing on the soaked carpet, screaming in agony. Another man looked scared out of his mind. He sat collapsed against the wall, trembling uncontrollably, staring at something unseen. A spreading yellow stain across his trousers made it crystal clear he had lost control of his bladder. People with first aid knowledge immediately rushed forward to help. Someone dialed the emergency number. Others ran to find hotel staff, demanding to know what the hell had just happened. Amid the chaos in the hallway, the restroom door suddenly opened. I stepped out, adjusting my pants, wearing an utterly bewildered expression. Oh, that's great. Are you here to rescue me? My eyes were wide with fear as I looked at the four men on the ground. They blocked me in the hallway and tried to attack me. They even forced me into the restroom and wouldn't let me leave. I glanced around at the crowd. Did all of you save me? Once it was clear that someone had tried to cause trouble, the police were called immediately. But after reviewing the hotel's surveillance footage, the officers placed me in the squad car without hesitation. Only then did the banquet guests learn what had truly gone down in the corridor. On the video, I had just stepped out of the restroom when the group of men blocked my path. Their leering smiles and suggestive remarks made their malicious intentions obvious. The way they advanced showed this wasn't going to be some harmless prank. Just as I was about to back into the restroom doorway, the footage showed me suddenly letting out a sharp, almost manic laugh. In the next second, I pulled out, seemingly from nowhere, a massive double-banger, firecracker, and shoved it straight into the mouth of the man in front. Then I kicked it hard, driving the explosive deeper, and spun around to sprint back into the restroom. The man panicked, trying to grab the firecracker from his mouth. But before his hand could even reach it, a blinding burst of smoke and flame erupted from between his jaws. Fragments from the blast sprayed outward. The two men beside him screamed, clutching their faces as debris struck them. The screen suddenly went black, likely shattered by flying shrapnel from the explosion. When the footage ended, every gaze in the ballroom drifted unconsciously toward the flashing police lights slowly disappearing outside the hotel below. Chapter 6. The man who had the double banger stuffed into his mouth suffered catastrophic facial injuries. His jaw was fractured, his face nearly unrecognizable, and his throat was damaged, but fortunately, his life wasn't in danger. The two standing closest to him weren't so lucky. One lost an eye from the blast. The other's face was peppered with deep burns and shrapnel wounds, leaving him permanently disfigured. If I'd been able to get more materials, I could have built something way more powerful. Unfortunately, the two bodyguards kept such a tight watch on me that I never had the chance to gather enough supplies. Still, there were things I could order online. Packages weren't inspected, which gave me an opening. I managed to purchase small quantities of raw materials for gunpowder. It wasn't much, but today it was enough. Enough to keep those spoiled heirs from stripping me naked and humiliating the Wong family in public. At the police station, after reviewing my psychiatric evaluation and the medication I'd been taking long-term, the officers released me on the spot and instructed my family to keep me under strict supervision. The medication I took was a psychiatric suppressant. My diagnosis: intermittent behavioral mania developed during years of gang life overseas. Episodes marked by obsessive, violent tendencies. When my biological parents read the report, a deep guilt filled their eyes. If I hadn't gone missing back then, I should have grown up as the dignified young master of the Wong family. Instead, I'd become a gang lunatic who built explosives by hand. Dad, Mom, he's clinically insane, Willow insisted. Keeping someone like him in this house is like planting a landmine that could explode at any moment. How are we supposed to guarantee our safety? He didn't grow up with you. There's no emotional bond. Why not take this chance to send him to a psychiatric hospital? He'll get treatment and we'll be safe. Isn't that a win-win? We already have Makoto as your son. Isn't that enough? Do you really have to keep this walking disaster here until he blows us all up with homemade bombs? Faced with Willow's persistent demand to send me away, Makoto, the counterfeit heir, was quick to raise both hands in agreement. Yes, Dad, Mom. I think Brother's mental state really isn't stable. Maybe we should listen to Sister. This isn't something to take lightly. If Brother loses control one day, who could stop him? As the two of them spoke with careful persuasion, my parents' expressions began to waver. When they looked at me now, their eyes carried more suspicion, more fear. Inside my head, a psychiatric hospital? That place is basically kindergarten. I broke out of an armed prison overseas. You think a mental institution could hold me? You think I'm some rabid dog biting at random? Do they really think I can't find out who sent those scumbags after me? If those two say one more word about sending me away, I'll bury them in the backyard before sunset. That big tree in the yard looks perfect. Dig deep. Head down. Bury them upright. Toss in a dead cat or dog on top, so even the police dogs get fooled. Right. I'll need yogurt and milk first. That'll speed up decomposition. At that moment, I picked up the yogurt on the table and took a long gulp. Willow suddenly gagged and vomited on the spot. I turned to her with genuine confusion. Sis, are you pregnant or something? Chapter 7. After the hotel incident, I wasn't sent to a psychiatric hospital. First, because a psychiatric hospital isn't a prison, it wouldn't be able to hold me anyway. Second, because aside from the one time I stuffed a homemade firecracker into someone's mouth, I hadn't done anything particularly out of line. The psychiatrist also reassured my parents that they didn't need to overreact. My condition was largely the result of prolonged high-pressure gang life overseas. As long as I adapted to a peaceful environment, I could gradually stop taking the suppressive medication. To aid my recovery, my parents arranged a comfortable, low-responsibility position for me in the company's legal department. Their hope was that exposure to normal work and social interaction would help stabilize me further. Whether intentional or not, from my very first day, my colleagues in the legal department began enthusiastically educating me on all sorts of laws. Every day, they vividly explained case studies, almost as if they were conducting moral instruction for a particularly troublesome student. Compared to Willow, who was so busy as vice president that she practically needed to kick the back of her own head to keep up, I felt like a kindergarten kid attending enrichment classes. As for Makoto, he was the family's pampered young master and Willow's favorite little brother. The ultimate golden boy, spoiled to the core. The dude didn't need to work a single day in his life. Every day he was either out there burning cash like it grew on trees, or chilling with a pack of equally spoiled heirs from other rich families, just stirring up drama for fun. Sometimes he'd randomly book a flight overseas to drown himself in women and luxury, living that full-on trust fund playboy life, without a single care. I went to one of his little gatherings once. 2 bottles of liquor in, and all those rich brats suddenly had urgent matters and slipped away one by one. The way they looked at me on their way out, not like I was a person, more like I was some predator about to pounce any second. After that, I never showed up to another one of their pointless parties. And funny enough, nobody ever had the guts to invite me again. Time dragged on in dull monotony. I was so bored I felt like I might start growing mold. One day, while passing a conference room at one corporation, I caught sight of a familiar figure through a gap in the blinds, someone I hadn't seen in a long time. I'd just finished another round of legal education and was wandering around the company with nothing better to do. As I walked past the conference room, I heard raised voices inside, heated, tense, like negotiations had completely derailed. Through the slats, I saw a familiar golden-haired figure leaning back in his chair, one leg casually crossed over the other, debating Willow, who was visibly getting more and more agitated. I pushed the door open and walked straight in. I've said this many times already. Willow snapped. This is the greatest sincerity one corporation can offer right now. You keep inflating the price and constantly revising the contract. What are you trying to do? Establish an international monopoly. You've repeatedly raised costs and altered terms. Do you business people have no integrity at all? If you continue like this. She cut herself off the second she saw me. Her face darkened instantly. George, do you have any sense of basic manners? Don't you know how to knock before entering? Can't you see I'm in the middle of a meeting with a supplier? Get out. I ignored her and walked straight toward the supplier. Schmidt, what are you doing here? The arrogant blonde foreigner who had been lounging so comfortably froze the moment he saw my face. His expression flipped to pure horror. My God, dear Lord, tell me this is a nightmare. Grunfeld, death's ingrown toenail, Grunfeld. Why are you here? Willow blinked. Grunfeld? What Grunfeld? I glanced back at her lazily. My old name. The one my godfather gave me. Schmidt had practically melted into his chair by now. What do you think you're doing? Let me tell you, this isn't Italy. If you dare hurt me, the law here won't let you get away with it. He turned to Willow in panic. Wong, what exactly are you trying to do? We're business partners. Why would you treat me like this? I admit it was wrong of me to raise the price of the raw materials, but you can't treat a friend this way. Willow looked completely lost, but even she could see that this foreigner's fear of me was anything but normal. What are you talking about? He's my long-lost brother. We just found him recently. His name is George now, not whatever Grunfeld you're babbling about. Hearing that, Schmidt's face turned a sickly green. You cunning merchant. No wonder you tolerated my inflated pricing for so long. You were waiting for this day all along. You fattened me up like a wild boar just to slaughter me at the perfect moment, didn't you? I shot Willow a sideways glance. You're this indecisive in business, yet somehow you're vice president? If you put even half the energy you use to make things difficult for Makoto and me into the company, you wouldn't be bullied to the point where you can't even pull your pants up. Hearing that, Schmidt's pale face turned even whiter. Can't pull my pants up? What exactly are you going to do to me? There's an old saying in your country about honor, he stammered. A gentleman may be killed, but not humiliated. I won't submit to this, even if I die. Relax. I lightly patted his cheek. I'm not going to kill you. But if you insist on those ridiculous inflated prices, I can't promise what might happen. Schmidt, before I came back here, I heard you recently remarried. Oriana, wasn't it? And she gave you a son, Javier, right? You see, my position in this family isn't exactly rock solid. If you lower the price a bit and make things easier for me, everyone's future will be smooth sailing. But if you cling to that extra profit, I sighed softly, like I genuinely felt bad for the guy. Poor little Javier. Not even old enough to call you Papa before he's sent straight to heaven. Imagine how heartbroken his father would be. I lowered my gaze and locked eyes with him. Don't you agree, my dear Mr. Schmidt? Chapter 8. The overseas contract was signed with shocking ease. Schmidt, deeply moved by my sincerity, agreed to a price so low it probably made him want to jump off a building, while successfully saving his family in the process. Wong Corporation got the order it wanted. Schmidt protected his loved ones. A flawless win-win. While Makoto was still out there hopping from one bed to another, living his best reckless life, I used that profitable international deal to lock in my position within the Wong family. My parents and sister stopped looking at me with prejudice. Even Willow's hostility vanished like it had never existed. A week later, Makoto ended his wild vacation and came home. Kidneys probably drained, soul even more so. But the moment he pushed open the villa door, he saw me sitting in what used to be his exclusive seat, laughing and chatting with our parents and Willow about company matters over dinner. When they saw him, my parents didn't greet him warmly like before. They just asked a couple neutral questions and told him to join us. Makoto didn't show obvious anger. But as he sat at the edge of the table watching the four of us talk like some perfectly harmonious family, the dissatisfaction in his eyes didn't escape me. After dinner, just as he was about to head upstairs, Karen dropped the final bomb. Makoto, from now on you'll stay in the West guest room. We've cleared out your old room for your brother. His suitcase hit the floor with a heavy thud. Clothes spilled everywhere. Why? Didn't you say I was your most beloved son? Why are you treating me like this now? Is it just because I'm not your biological child? I've been with you for 20 years. You said the Wong family owed me, that I didn't owe you anything. Why are you going back on your word? If you dislike me so much, then I'll leave. That way I won't be an eyesore in this house. He stormed toward the door, but when his hand grabbed the doorknob, there was no familiar voice behind him telling him to stay. He stood there for over a minute, hand on the handle, unable to open it. Why? Why aren't you stopping me? He demanded, turning around. Every time I threatened to run away before, you begged me to stay. Why don't you like me anymore just because he came back? He expected tears. Instead, he saw disappointment in their eyes. Makoto, Sam sighed. If you can behave yourself and live properly in this house, we will still treat you as our son. But if you insist on those shady schemes behind our backs, I'll have no choice but to remove you from this family. Willow stepped forward and tossed a phone onto the carpet at his feet. Look at it yourself. Makoto picked it up, confused. After one glance at the screen, he looked up in disbelief. You knew? Yes, Karen said, pain in her eyes. We know everything. You were afraid George would return and take your place. You tracked him down long ago. You even hired someone to eliminate him so he would never come back. After we found George, you didn't stop. You repeatedly slandered him. You even incited those spoiled heirs to publicly humiliate him just to disgrace the Wong family. They're your ride-or-die followers. You basically hinted that once you inherited the Wong family, if they wrecked your brother for you, you'd hook them up with shares in Wong Corporation. You really tried to destroy your own brother just to lock in your position. What did you think the Wong family was? What did you think our reputation was worth? Right now the entire elite circle is buzzing that you, an adopted son, attacked your own brother just to keep your status as the sole heir. You've straight up dragged the Wong family's name through the mud. Willow stood in front of him, her gaze ice cold. The families of those 3 injured men have already made it clear they're holding you responsible. They're ready to settle the score with you. Dad was ready to protect you. Today was supposed to be your last shot. But you're still not satisfied, still beefing with George over something as petty as a room. She walked to the door, opened it herself, and shoved Makoto outside. Go. From now on, you've got nothing to do with the Wong family. Chapter 9. That night Makoto knelt outside the villa gates for a long, long time. Not a single person inside opened the door for him. Even though the evidence that exposed him had all been handed over by me, the Wong family's cold-blooded ruthlessness towards someone they had raised for 20 years sent a chill straight through me. For the sake of the Wong family's reputation and interests, they tossed aside 2 decades of affection without blinking. If one day this biological son with zero emotional foundation, ever threatened the family's core interests, wouldn't they dump me just as easily? Just before dawn, Makoto vanished. No one had a clue where he went. My parents, despite everything, still couldn't completely let go. They sent people to search for him, but there wasn't a single trace. Life kept moving. Aside from Karen locking herself in her room and crying for 2 days, nothing changed. It was like Makoto had never even existed. But I knew something they didn't. When you look everywhere for someone and can't find them, it usually means they're hiding on purpose. And someone like Makoto, petty and vindictive, would never let the Wong family off the hook that easily. A month later, Willow disappeared on her way home. Her car vanished along with her. Traffic surveillance later showed someone had intercepted her vehicle and abducted her. When police finally busted into a presidential suite at a hotel, they found Makoto, completely naked, and Willow unconscious on the bed. At the detention center, facing the parents who had raised him for 20 years, Makoto's eyes were almost fully swallowed by madness. You kicked me out of the Wong family just like that. I'll hate you for the rest of my life. Now I've ruined your daughter's purity. Not only did I sleep with her, I got her pregnant with my child. If I can't be the Wong family's son, then I'll make your daughter carry my child. My child will become your grandchild. Inside, I couldn't help thinking, what an absolute pig brain. With that IQ, he thinks he can cling to the Wong family like this? Keep dreaming. What he doesn't know is that when I first came home and he tried to sabotage me, I got annoyed and slipped something into his drink. By now he's way past the point of no return, completely infertile. In that moment, not just Makoto, but even my parents, stared at me in pure horror. I blinked at them innocently. What? Is there something on my face? Chapter 10. Willow's injuries were too severe. She lost the ability to have children forever. Makoto's medical report also confirmed what I already knew. He was infertile too. He was officially arrested for rape. Even after being transferred from the detention center to prison, he kept demanding to see my parents. Too bad for him. There's no forgiveness for someone who destroys your daughter. My parents now probably wish they could end him on the spot. The Wong family returned to peace. Of the 3 children who once lived under this roof, only one remained healthy and free. Me. The betrayal of their adopted son and the devastation their daughter suffered hit my parents hard. It felt like overnight they aged more than 10 years. I was transferred out of the legal department and gradually started taking over the company's operations. 1 year later, I formally assumed control of Wong Corporation. Using connections from my past, I went all in and aggressively expanded its overseas trade network. As for my parents, I arranged for them to stay at a high-end rehabilitation estate to recover. They were very pleased with the environment there. That evening, I joined them for dinner at the estate. When they almost simultaneously finished the bowls of abalone porridge in front of them, their expressions shifted at the exact same time. They looked at me with absolute, bone-deep terror, because they had heard my thoughts. Finally, Wong Corporation is completely in my hands. These 2 old bastards aren't useful anymore. Did they really think I didn't know? The Wong family's first pot of gold came from selling me overseas. And now they've got the nerve to play loving parents in front of me. Disgusting. The poison in this porridge? Consider it payback for the so-called gift of life they gave me. I smiled and gently set down my chopsticks, wearing a mildly confused expression. Dad, Mom, what's wrong? Does the porridge taste off? Inside, though. That's right. Go on. Just die already.